All right, here we are. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for being here for our second to last show and tell for 2024. If you can believe it, I cannot believe it. And it's October, which I also can't believe. And it's 90 degrees outside. All unbelievable things. So welcome to our show and tell tonight. Theme is picturing the street, and the host is Malcolm Ryder, but I am standing in for him. I'll be playing a video that he prepared. He and I, when we were coordinating and organizing this, we had the dates mixed up, and he is out of the country, so he cannot be here. But he prepared everything, and so I will kind of pretend to be him, although I could never quite be him. I know I'm sorry he can't be here because he's got great insight and everything. But to start, Vince and or Anita, do you have any EPCO announcements you'd like to make?
Nothing much happening in EPCO. It's always the joke. I can kick us off by saying we had a fantastic EPCO Fest. Saw some of you there. Thank you for being there. I'm sure the rest of you were there in spirit. It was our most successful EPCO Fest so far in terms of turnout and energy and money raised. So very successful all around. And then we have our next upcoming event after tonight's is the bi-monthly photo walk, which I'm hosting. And this time it's starting somewhere very new for all of us, which is Lake Temescal. We're meeting in the Lake Temescal parking lot by Broadway, which is technically walkable from Rockridge BART. It's a little bit of a jaunt, but we're happy to ferry people back to BART at the end of the walk if need be. And we're having a picnic on the grass during and after the photo walk. So that's happening at 1 o'clock this coming Sunday.
Excellent. Anything you want to add, Vince? No pressure, no obligation to buy.
Member show.
Yeah, that's.
So yeah, the call for entries is open for the member show. So please submit for that.
We'll find you the link.
Yeah.
We're getting an energetic number of submissions already.
Curated by Malcolm Wallace, all about motion. And if anyone knows about motion, it's Malcolm Wallace. So he's gonna bring some great energy to it.
Open, free, and open to all EPCO members.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Great. Thanks, you guys. So I think I will kind of dive into show and tell. I'll just read this and then I'm going to play Malcolm's thing. It's about 13 minutes. So we'll just get on with it. Okay, picturing the street. Many photographers have years of work under their belt and got shot not in the studio or other interiors, but outdoors on the street. We tend to think of being on the street as being in a place called the street, a place that has its own ambiance and ethos. And usually we are not thinking of wide open spaces like rural or industrial areas, but after 100 years of street photography, what's interesting is how enduring our interest is in the ways it has not changed and how it can change from time to time if the shooter does a new mix of persona, tools, and location, a new story, or a new environment. Join me in surveying what goes under the street umbrella. For example, the street as a place with a boundary as strong as any interior, a frontier or oasis, and a state of mind or culture. So I am now going to share my screen and play Malcolm's video. Can you all see that?
Yep.
Okay.
Not playing yet, if that's. Oh.
It is.
Hi, everyone.
There we go.
Welcome. I'm an Oakland photographer. I've been in Oakland since 1996. And I shoot almost exclusively in Oakland, almost exclusively with my smartphone camera. Today, we're going to look at some landscapes. And along the way, you may see signs of some of the influences on my work, which include being an artist and a commercial photographer. I've taught, curated, and I write art criticism. And I've also spent years and years studying different kinds of photography, and in particular, a 5-year stint at the National Endowment for the Arts, where, as part of the jurying system there, I saw thousands of artist portfolios every year for 5 years. So that's a little about me. I want to say a couple of other things about the pictures that are coming up. I know everyone here is pretty familiar with landscape photography, and I suspect that we'll see just about every kind that we're familiar with and care about during this hour. But I did want to start out by just making a couple of notes, some things to watch out for. Typically, landscape is thought about as a found landscape versus built landscape. We go out as photographers and we create views of those places, and sometimes with a special emphasis on making a particular place well known or well identified. And for me, that generally breaks down into one of three kinds of pictures, either historical documentation or describing particular scenes. But in my work, it also actually veers into portraiture. Imagine making portraits of the environment. That's a big idea in my work. Every image that I make starts out with nothing. It's a blank surface area, but then I use my camera lens to select and place whatever you see on that blank surface. So as a result, the images are arrangements of the raw material of the environment put into the design that I want for the picture. And so that picture evolves from what I'm looking at into showing what people decided to do about where they live. That's the core of my landscape work. Going back to that idea that all of my pictures start out blank, here are a final few notes about things that I'm thinking about or doing to convert that blank area into the final picture that you see.
Okay. We all know that place. God, that's a gorgeous building. I don't know if any of you remember one of our show and tells, I think from 2020 or 2021, where the theme was one photo for 1 minute or something like that. And you end up paying attention to so many different things with each photograph when you're looking at it for so long without speaking, which was also how we did it. This is kind of reminding me of that show and tell.
I remember that. Yeah, that was really interesting.
Yeah. Because like there's a part of me that is like kind of wants this to go faster, but because it's not, I'm looking at it in a different way. It almost seems like he's finding places that are very colorful, that are surrounded by more muted or monochromatic things. And as soon as I say that, we don't have one like that.
all of the pictures that we just saw are from an ongoing series called Oaktown, which has its own website and is constantly expanding and occasionally results in special exhibitions or small publications. You can reach that site by going to malcolmryder.com. And thank you so much for looking at these pictures today.
All right. So that was a first of for us for show and tells, simply in that typically our host is usually here. So moving on, we're gonna go. We're now going to move on to our show and tellers. Rebecca, you are number one, even though you're number two. So take it away, and let me just make sure that you can share the screen.
Okay.
I just have cleared you. You've been approved.
Okay. Do you see my screen?
Not yet. Excuse me.
Okay. Okay, there. I'm hitting the share button.
Are you picking the right option of application to share?
Okay. Good point. Love it. How about now?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, here we go. All right, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right. So, hello everyone, and hello to Malcolm. So I have really been thinking about, I'm just going to address Malcolm. Malcolm, I've been thinking so much about what you suggested that we try. And so I'm going to focus on your formula here. Okay, so this is the new mix. In my town, I'm so lucky that my neighbors are really into these fairy environments. And I have like a lot of neighbors that are really into it. So every time I go on a walk, I see something like this, like these little playthings in gardens. And also, even more than people lately, I see these turkeys on my walk. We're really having a big turkey explosion post-pandemic. So I'm inspired by fairylands and turkeys. Okay, so I'm gonna use Malcolm's formula as I understand it. Although he suggests not making something man-made, but I'm putting a twist on there. So I'm making a new story from 3 projects. The first one, which is the water, I had a body of work called Haiku Walk, and they are kind of pretty pictures that I don't know what to do with yet. And then the second thing is that 4-legged creature is clay project. This project I just finished last month. It was called Clay 1, 2, 3. And every day I made a clay thing with like September 1, 1 clay thing. September 2, 2 clay things. So this is day 4 with a 4-legged thing. And then the last thing I'm inspired with, the 3 projects are the Haiku Walk, the Clay 1, 2, 3, and then Malcolm's formula.
Excellent.
So first, he said that you're going to use persona. So first I had to sculpt my persona, And you can see like we got 4, 5, 6, and 7. Those are how many pieces are making the personas. And I use these tools. So here I am making clay pieces that I later put into creatures. And I used my iPhone and I used Procreate. Those are my tools. And I added the location background. So this is like from the haiku walk. And to create a new environment. So Malcolm says, once you get your persona and your tools and your location, then you're ready to create a new environment. And you can survey the street as a place with a boundary as strong as any interior, a frontier or oasis, or a state of mind or culture. Let's go. Explore the boundary. Feel an outdoor place with a strong interior. Navigate a new frontier. Seek an oasis. Enter a state of mind. Appreciate culture. This is an example of like a location, and I'm very curious about what this is. Been like this all week.
What do you mean you were curious about it?
Well, why are there 2 watermelons on a mound that didn't grow there?
Okay, got it. I just wanted to make sure I was following.
Yeah. So this is clay 1, 2, 3, which is like starting with like 1 piece of clay to begin, and 30 is the snail at the end. Thank you.
Can you go through like can you kind of go through it? The image making slides again. I really I love how you took Malcolm's theme and directives and created these. Like, it's so imaginative.
Thank you.
And I just never would have thought of landscape or street, like this, but based on how Malcolm's talking about it, like, I don't know, I think he would love this. So I look forward to him seeing the.
Well, today I had fun making the graphics, because I looked at his website and I saw the graphics. So that, I guess that's like another way I'm influenced by Malcolm. Thank you.
Mhm.
So, all right, so let's go. Explore the boundary.
Like this one right off the bat, I was like, whoa, that is, I don't know, the colors are great. Like the collage, the digital collage, right?
Can we go full screen?
Okay. Mm-hmm. So funny. How do I do that? Okay, this. Okay.
I mean, it's just so weird and confusing and beautiful. Like, I don't know, like obviously like this man-made thing. I don't know, it's just I love how it looks.
I
The
think I think I'm very influenced by these fairylands, these fairy setups that are all around, like these little doors that are attached to trees. And for a while I was photographing that, but then I thought like, oh, what if I make some things and then put them in the environment? And I really like this idea of reality plus fantasy.
Yes.
Mhm.
it seems these are telling a sort of original story. You're not using those like fairy or gnome references that you see, scattered around. Like you're creating your own street, which I think is very cool, and creating your own vocabulary uh in these figures.
Thanks. Yeah, he was saying like you create a new environment if you change your like tools, persona, and location. And so I really feel like these are like a new environment, and then I'm not sure if they're a new story yet, or if a story takes more than like one image. Um, I don't know.
And that one's great. I mean, yeah, the bird with that object. I don't know. It just works.
Your color usage is so bold. It's jumping off the screen. It's really cool.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Yeah, I'm still attached to like how many pieces that is. That's 29. It may not. I was kind of wondering when I started one, what in the world am I going to make on day 29? I had so much fun with these graphics today. This actually has two things. It has like a background image, it has a clay thing, and then I clipped art another like flower scene on top of the clay thing.
The image that looks like a reflection underneath it, so that's the clip art, and then you've got your clay sculpture.
Yeah, well, the things that are kind of like pinky on it, the kind of splattery pink is the clip. I think we're in interiors. So he said, like, look for interiors that are boundaries that are as strong as
Any interior.
any interior. Thank you. Yeah. So that was fun to look for. This is definitely my favorite house. And on my walks, because they have so much stuff in their yard, I can always find something.
Yeah, it's interesting how you played with color on this one. It works really well.
Thank you. I really, these people have a lot of doll houses. Navigate a new frontier. This one I was thinking about the moon. So I am not like thinking about what the picture is what it's going to be. I make all the clay things, and then I add the backgrounds later. So they're always surprising to me.
It's fascinating.
And I also bumped up all of these images with like a dramatic filter to make it have it like more dark. Seek an oasis. "26 pieces. The other thing about my town is like all the streets end up in the water. So there's that. Enter a state of mind. Appreciate culture. Again, we can ponder this thing. And this is what they look like before I kind of put another filter on them, making them darker. They're, very bright.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
That was great. Moving on, Sammy Braxton Haney.
Yeah.
Not Steve. No.
Officially not Steve.
Officially Steve.
Okay.
Yeah.
Take it away. Yeah. All right. Okay, so I think I did this kind of backwards, but I read the description that we were going to go by tonight, and so I was trying to pull out key words that I thought I might have some work that could relate to them. So this first one was about ambiance, and I sort of feel like the ambiance of the street is defined every time I go out, just depending on the atmosphere I pick up on, how I'm feeling, if I'm feeling confident, vulnerable, if I'm feeling ambivalent. I think that has a real effect on the ambiance of the photographs. And then, of course, a lot of the ambiance is affected by the time of day. Almost all the images we're going to look at were shot at either between 7:30 and 8:30 in the morning, or between 4 and 5:30 in the evening. And this was an afternoon shot at a time that everyone was just wanting to get home. This woman is coming out of the Fidelity building that's at the corner of Montgomery and Market. And I love shooting there because of the green that they use around the door and around the windows. And so that's what that's about.
Is that woman covering her face because she knows she's being photographed, or is it?
Well, that's one of the things I love about photography. Is Dion Arbus said, photography is a secret about something you don't know, or something close to that. And I find the more I shoot, the more that is true. So I don't know what to tell you, Steve. Yeah, hard to say.
The lighting here is real is real sharp. Are you using a flash?
No.
Okay. Wow.
It's that great afternoon low sun, which I just love. And I love that corner of Montgomery and Market too, because of that. And of course, we're in the autumn now, and the light is very different than it is in the summer. And it's just so much warmer. And yeah, I'm quite drawn to it.
I love that hidden figure in the back where you just see the top of their head, the leg, and a couple hands.
Yeah.
What a great moment in time.
Yes.
Yeah, I was very fortunate that he was there at that time, because it really added, I felt like it added to the the picture. I'd like to say that I orchestrated the whole thing perfectly, but that would
No,
that
you
would not
can't.
be that would not be true. It wouldn't be street then.
Well, and the fact that the majority of his being is like totally in the shade, so you
Yeah.
can only see a little bit of him. Like it's really great.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes less suggests more in a way.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the other things that was talked about in the sort of the guidelines for today was ethos. And does the street have its own ethos? And I find that I actually went and looked up the definition because I thought I knew what ethos meant. And one of the things that I looked up said that ethos was the spirit of a culture. And I have to admit that sometimes I don't like what the spirit of the culture is. And so I make a conscious decision not to photograph it. And I think that where that makes itself known is not taking pictures of people with phones. They're just so ubiquitous.
Right.
And so when I get to work in the morning, I'm looking for people that are interacting with their environment, and showing their own spirit. And one of the ways I do that is to try to take pictures of people without phones, which sort of reduces about 75% of your population. A
Yeah.
lot of times it's either then older people who don't walk around looking at a phone because they're not working. Sometimes those that don't have a home. Or there's a whole bunch of people that are up working early, doing manual labor in the cities, cleaning the streets, cleaning the sidewalks, and like this person, cleaning windows, so that when the workers arrive in that morning, they've got clean windows to look out. And I saw this, and of course, it's got a lot of rather textbook sort of leading lines and repetition, and but I did like it. I thought that the gentleman, I liked his pose and the how the lines crisscross with each other, and
It's great.
yeah,
Yes.
Beautifully composed.
thank
Yeah.
you. I was really happy with that.
Mm.
One of the other things that was mentioned in the not the rules, but the things that were talked about as far as governing what we're going to talk about tonight, is wide open spaces. And there's in the city, of course, it's kind of hard to sometimes find a wide open space. But there's this part down on, I work on 2nd Street, and at the corner of 2nd and Howard,
Mhm.
the group, the population tends to thin out. And sometimes if you wait long enough and shoot every day, eventually you will get the shot that you're looking for. I firmly believe that. And so that this morning, this was just like last week, this woman stopped, and I saw it all in an instant, this beautiful cloud hovering over her. And I got down low and shot up, which is one of my favorite things to do. I love doing that. I did it the other day in the middle of Montgomery Street and Bush, where there's a crosswalk where you can walk either straight ahead or cross the street. And there was this woman coming toward me, and I again, just like this, I saw it in a minute, and I dropped to my knees in the middle of the street to shoot her. But what was great, and what happened with this one too, I think, is that the person suddenly becomes bigger than life, and they're like as big or not bigger than the buildings. And I love that effect.
Yeah, it's really great. Like that timing. I mean, you're there every day, it sounds like, so you have more opportunity for that moment. Like you see these moments when you don't have a moment to capture it. But then you kind of remind yourself the next day or whatever, like to be
Yep.
ready.
Yeah, it's all about being ready, isn't it? I mean, you just
Yeah.
never know when you can pass by something 100 times, and then the day that the dog is there doing something fantastic, it's like, yes, I put in my time at this corner. All the ones that never there, now they're there.
Yeah.
Um, the one of the things that was mentioned in the preview was trying to mix personas, tools, and locations. And I do find that I'm trying to work on different things all the time. Malcolm mentioned negative space. It's something that I'm very interested in. Accentuating shadows, fishing instead of hunting. I don't know if you've heard that analogy before for street photographers, but there's some street photographers, and this doesn't define all street photographers, obviously, but one way of kind of lumping them together is to say that there's who fish, So they pick out a place and they stay there, and they kind of have an idea of what the picture is going to look like, and they wait for people to come to them. And then there's people who hunt like sharks, and they move along. I think Bruce Gilden is probably the best example of that. They move along, constantly moving, looking for something. Anyway, one of the things I've been working on lately is trying to capture motion, but specifically using the lens to pan with the subject, but at the same time zooming in if you've got a zoom lens. So you get a sort of, ideally, you get a double effect of motion, but then some things is frozen. And it's hard, and I've been really working at it for a while. And so I think so far this seems to be the one that I feel has got it close as I've been looking to get. And I was very fortunate that the minibus was going by, which had brought its own color into the images as well.
Oh, that makes it for sure. And then you've got the shadow of the bike on the bus, which is
right.
Really kind of a little shock and surprise and Easter egg almost, you know.
It's like gift with purchase. Yeah, I agree. I was not planning that part. I was like, had no idea. One of the things that was also mentioned was places with boundaries as strong as any interior. And I think it's really easy in the city to, look at structures in the buildings and the gateways and the entrance to parking lots and doors, a million doors in the city, right? And there are all these things that can provide so many boundaries, and some of them are permeable, like there's some are glass and you can look through them and do some cool things. But I think also sometimes people make their own boundaries, and I really like that idea that you can have this very segmented, it's kind of defined by the concrete and the hard surfaces, and then you've got people that are also within that defining their own boundaries. And this was taken at Salesforce has an annual event called Dreamforce. And so this was taken over by Moscone Center. And I love when Dreamforce comes to town because there's so many more people on the street. And it just happened about 2 weeks ago, and I was very happy about it. So this was, I just saw this arm, and it's a complete ripoff, although I will call it an homage, to a photographer named Lee Freelander, who shot a lot in the 60s, 70s, 80s. He's actually still alive. But he will take often what appear to be disembodied parts and put them right in the middle of the photograph, so you can't ignore them. And kind of that was my thought on this one.
It almost looks like the guy to the left of the hand is wearing bunny ears from that statue behind.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, for whatever reason, after the hand, that's what I saw.
Yeah. Oh my God, that is so funny. I've looked at this photo a lot and I've never noticed the bunny ears, but that's great. Yeah, no, that's good. An oasis. One morning it was very foggy and not down to the ground, but up about, I don't know, 200, 300 feet, it started to get really foggy. And I happened to be walking by, again, Salesforce. And this presentation is not sponsored by Salesforce. So I'm just walking by the building, and I loved how the fog was so thick at the top that in a way, when I was looking back for pictures of like, oh, what could be seen as an oasis, I found this and I thought, oh yeah, because it sort of like comes out of nothing, or it comes out very solid and sort of graduates into the nothingness of the mist of the fog. So one of the other things that I wanted to try to capture was a state of mind. And I think sometimes when I'm shooting, I'm looking at people and I see how I think they're expressing their state of mind. And then I think, oh, well, then how does that affect my state of mind? And that happens all the time. I feel like when I'm shooting, there's this constant exchange of energy and state of mind with people. And I saw this woman standing there, and I just thought, I don't know what it was, but it seemed like almost within seconds, this photograph just coalesced around her. And I was so happy that she was the only one looking that way, and everybody else was either looking the other way or looking down. And she was just so serene, and she's probably just waiting for a bus. But yet, I think at the moment, so there's something about her which really drew me in, and I thought later, like, well, whatever state of mind she's in, it's definitely affecting my state of mind. And so I was lucky to have been there to see that.
So I would say you were fishing on this one.
Yeah, I was. That's exactly right. I was standing still because I saw that, but funny, I keep pointing to the screen as if we're all doing the same thing. I saw this was, where Bart was coming up. So I love that when people's heads boop, 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 go up the steps, and you're standing in the right place, and it can provide such great juxtaposition between a whole head and half a head and part of a body. So I knew that that was happening, and so you're right. I absolutely stood there for a little bit, which is very rare for me in the morning. I tend to move a lot, and this morning I actually stayed put. So you're right. I was absolutely fishing for that, and
Great.
so yeah,
You caught one.
got one. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
What am I working on? Layering. I first learned about layering in terms of landscape photography, where you've got a foreground, you've got a middle ground, and then you've got a background. And it's a way of bringing some dynamics to your photograph. So if you've got like flowers in the foreground, water in the middle, and then mountains in the back, right? It's a way of, obviously, if you're using a larger telephoto lens, you're compacting that image. And then, but I find layering with humans is a hell of a lot more difficult. At least with nature, no one's moving.
I like
And
all
and I think with people, layering is, I love the challenge every day. If I could get one good shot of layering, I love it. So this to me was again another shot over at the Salesforce Dreamforce convention, and I was just happy with the foreground, which is completely out of focus, which I absolutely love.
It's perfect.
Can I can I ask how are you positioning yourself in this
Yeah,
scene?
this is
How close
just
are you to the person in front?
damn close.
Yeah.
This is actually a hip shot. I would like to say that I saw this all from my viewfinder. A lot of what I shoot is from the hip.
Mm.
That's not a metaphor. That's literally like
Yeah.
shooting from the hip. And but I had a feeling because I could see her coming, and the image before this is of just the people with the phones. So I saw this woman coming, and I was like, wait for it. And sure enough, she came at just the right moment. And I was just so lucky that these people were doing things that people do all day long with, like, here's your phone, there's the direction you got to go. And I just love all these cavalcade of hands and fingers
Coffee.
pointing, right? It just, yeah. So that was a sort of a 2-layer. And then this was taken over on 16th Street in the Mission by the Roxy Theater.
Yeah.
It was prom night, and there was a lot going on, and these people were spilling out of cars to get their photographs taken before they were going on to their party. And these two gentlemen in the foreground were talking about, oh, it's time. Look at time it is. We got to go. And the woman in the middle was obviously posing for a photograph. And then I lucked out, and this third woman was crouching, and she's actually not taking a picture of the woman in the middle. She's taking a picture of somebody else. And I remember thinking as I clicked the shutter, like, to quote the Eagles, this could be heaven or this could be hell. And I felt lucky that it seemed to come together the way that I was hoping it would. And again, it's just another example of layering that I'm something that I'm always working on.
Fantastic.
And if all else fails, take a photograph of a dog.
That's right.
You can't go wrong.
I feel
And
like I can hear this photo.
what was that?
I feel like I can hear this photo.
Yeah. Yeah. I just went through 6 years worth of street photography. And I've just started a new Instagram page. Sammy Street Photos, by the way. That's a shameless plug. Sammy Street Photos.
Put it in the chat.
What was that?
Put it in the chat.
Oh, thank you. Yes, we'll do. Thank you.
Yeah.
But anyway, I just forgot how many dogs I shot. And I was drawn to them. And one of the things I learned real quickly about shooting dogs is get down at their level. And that definitely happened with this character. This is down by the Embarcadero. He was running all over hell and back, and then he literally stopped right in front of me as if to say, "Okay, now's your moment." And last but not least, as long as you're getting down on the ground for an animal, why not take a picture of pigeons?
Oh yeah,
Yes.
that's amazing.
Did you provide the bread?
No, I was lucky that someone had just scattered a whole bunch of bread, and I came upon that scene seconds after it happened. So they didn't care about me. They wanted nothing to do with me. They wanted to eat. So they allowed me to get that close, and it was great. I love pigeons. I people give them a bad rap, but I love seeing them in the morning. They're beautiful when the sun is shining through their feathers and they're fully stretched out. It's really cool.
It is effective in black and white.
Yeah, I knew yes. I knew that was how I wanted to do it. Yeah. And that's it.
Impressive.
Awesome. That was really fun.
And then thank you. And then do I unshare? Where's my share?
Are you a member, Sammy?
I'm sorry?
Are you an EPCO member?
I am.
Are you going to be submitting to the members show?
I am.
Good.
Absolutely.
Any other questions, comments, whatever for Sammy before we move on?
Just a request to share your Instagram handle verbally and in the chat again for folks that are watching this later. They won't be able to access the chat.
Got it. Doing it right now. Thanks, Anita.
Yeah. But tell us also verbally.
Oh, sorry. Sammy Street Photos.
Great.
Excellent.
And same goes for everyone here. Like, happy to give you all a follow.
Yes.
Great interpretation of the, what do you call it? The recipe, Malcolm's recipe.
Yes.
Thank you. It was I sort of felt like I was going at it backwards, like, well, here's the parameters. Then I went and had to go find photos that I thought sort of fit that. And one of the things I appreciated that you did is like you actually created what appears to be like you actually created some things in reaction to that. And I was like, that takes a lot of guts. I thought that was
I mean, both of your comments about each other, like totally. Yeah. I mean, that's what kind of makes this so much fun. And I mean, I never know what people are going to bring, to the table. And it's really interesting how the angles from which you guys came at it.
It was a very juicy piece of writing. It was actually a little slippery, hard to get a hold of. There's
I agree.
Yeah.
Well, excellent. Thank you, Sammy. Next is Anki. Am I pronouncing that right?
Yes, Aki.
Aki. Okay.
Yes.
Aki, welcome. You are up, and you are welcome to share your screen.
Perfect. Thank you all. Thank you for sharing your photos. It was incredible. I, forgot about the tell part, so hopefully I'll have some things to go along with some photos. I agree with Rebecca on the prompt. I read it so many times. I'm afraid I took it a little literally. And there are a couple of things around, I think the words that I was drawn to was more around boundaries and sort of, and the ethos. I think those are the two that I really went for. And I, in terms of boundaries, what makes it fun for me to take photos is I grew up in Calcutta in India, and I was always told as a kid when we were driving around in the city, my dad never let us look do anything else. Like we were not allowed to read in the car or anything like that. We had to look outside because life was literally happening on the streets.
I like that rule.
Wow. yeah, and to this day, I can't do any other work. And so when I'm on BART, I can't, be doing other work. I'm like looking out, which is, always fascinating in some way. But so yeah, so sort of like thinking about boundaries and the street in the context of where I grew up. As you can see here, this is on the street, and you kind of get a glimpse into everyone's literally their laundry. There's no boundaries, and so in my photos, I enjoy sort of seeing that and like the juxtaposition of sort of generally juxtaposition in many ways, but in this case as well, sort of what we expect to be behind, your doors versus what kind of we have access to on the street. And also I love words, and I love the play of words on the street. And in this one, I always enjoyed it as like a juxtaposition as well, because kind of on the play of, you mentioned oasis. And to me, when I look at the sky, it's very calming, and it's this expansive sky with the clouds, a blanket of clouds. But then it says "ouch," which to me is just a fun play. I think I just always enjoy that. And then I love when the streets are filled with unexpected gems and music. And so, again, to me, that's about boundaries, because oftentimes these are things that you have to access, indoors. And so I love when there's a party on the street. Great. I was thinking about color a lot, and I think in Malcolm's video, and then in also his writing, there's like these the way color kind of plays across the canvas to me. So I enjoy when there's like patterns in color, in my view. So here there's like just a bit of play, which I enjoy. And yeah, just when words kind of make sense, it's just kind of fun. This is obviously in your backyard. All of you are familiar with this neighborhood. I love the street art there, and it just is really fun to photograph.
Motion.
Sorry, I'm going to switch over. Here, I'm going to jump to this one. I really enjoy this man. I was just thinking about boundaries very literally here, where he was cleaning his ears on the way back from his grocery shopping. So I think he has some rice on his head and some lentils. And I lost track of where I was going. I followed him for a while because I really enjoyed how he was just cleaning his ears on the street. So I enjoy when life's happening on the street. It's really fun to capture. This is kind of another. This is actually like a cafe, so you can see all those stools out there. And this mural out here is actually by an artist. She's had her pieces at the Burning Man a couple years ago. At Burning Man a couple years ago. But yeah, I love the light in this, and just kind of this. Not many people are looking up at the wall, but everyone's just getting their evening snacks out there. But to me, there's so much life on the streets. Yeah.
That one has such a curious, pink hue to it.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what it looked like when you photographed it?
Right here?
No, the whole thing.
Oh, the whole thing?
Yeah, there's this pinkiness about it.
I may have done something to it to tint it, to give it more warmth.
Yeah, I mean, I like it. It's just because sometimes there's a building or something that has a color and light that is being reflected off of it, just kind of
Mhm.
changes how everything looks around you.
I'm wondering if that's
Mhm.
it because I'm looking at the blue sky and it looks blue, although maybe there's a tiny bit of paint cast.
Yeah.
Just
And
lighting.
I just love the shadows of the tree on that mural. Like it almost looks like a double exposure. It's really,
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot to look at.
And the scale is so fun with the stools.
Yes.
Yeah, I was actually zipping. We kept going back and forth. I'm like in an auto rickshaw. We're going on the street, and so I'm trying to capture it as fast as I can. And every time we found ourselves on this part of the street, I would take a photo because I wanted to send it to my friend who's the artist, and I wanted to send it to her. So every time I would try to capture it. But this was my favorite one because of the lighting, I think.
Mhm.
The other ones were too, just
And I think another reason why this photo works is the motorcyclist keeps your eye moving into the photograph, and they're off to the left and then way down the corner. But they really work.
Yeah.
I think it helps. I think it brings some focus, so to speak, to the to what's going on in front of the driver.
And it's all very kind of serendipitous too, because he's got his blue long sleeve shirt, and that kind of is balanced with the blue stools.
right.
Um, and yeah, but yeah, I totally agree, Sammy. Like, it would not be the same picture without the motorcyclist.
Yep.
Agreed. All right. I know we don't have too much time. I enjoyed this couch on the street.
Yeah.
Again, also with Andres.
Nice.
Yeah, just and I love. I'm a big fan of painted signs. And we're losing that. And in the U.S. already, they're kind of like these ghost signs, right?
Mhm.
But in other parts of the world, we still have that, but we're also losing it there to like the cheaper, like the printed stuff, which breaks my heart. But yeah, so I'm a big fan of signs and also just yeah, the couch on the street. That's pretty much all it's
Especially when colorful lettering is put right on a textured surface.
yeah.
It just there's something about the way that it looks.
Yeah.
It's great.
And we've got a lot of it here with it on the wall and then on the pull up down what do you call it? Gate.
With a
The
roll-up
shutter
door.
kind of gate,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And I like the direction of that yellow pointing toward that ugly looking
Yeah.
green sofa.
And that crazy ass pattern on the sofa is like, what's up with that?
I know. Okay.
But it's beautiful. It's beautiful in the photo.
Also just on the rolling doors, if you folks have gone down Haight Street, like near Haight Ashbury before the shops open, it's really fun because I think it's more interesting to photograph there when the shops are closed because they're incredibly like the artwork on them they're really cool. This is just a little more artwork, and then on Mission Street, I've been walking the entirety of like some streets. So I'll pick one street, and I have a tendency to wander. But I've been trying to pick a street and then stick to it from the beginning to the end. It kind of forces you to see things even when there's like, not much going on, so to speak. And so Mission Street, it was almost like a 10-mile walk. It starts in Daly City, and it's fascinating. I recommend. So recently, that previous photo was from Mexico City, and then I was in San Francisco, and I was starting to see a lot of these hand painted signs and artwork, and so it was really exciting to see that right here. Yep. And then this is my last one. This is from Pride, and I just really enjoyed these guys. And San Francisco is events like that, of course, there's so much happening on the streets that you don't have to, as a photographer, I barely have to put in that much effort to get something to tell a story. So it makes it really easy. But this was one of my favorite ones, and it came together. This was my first roll of film, so I was very excited to actually get something.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Thank you so much for taking the time to listen.
Thank you, Aki. That was so great. And this is your first time to a show and tell, right?
That's right. Yes.
Well, welcome and thank you. This is great. That was really wonderful.
Your color was amazing, Aki.
Oh, thanks. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. So last but not least, we've got Steve Baum.
Hello. I'm on. So this is my first show and tell, and I'm rather unprepared relative to what I've heard other people talk about. Here's what I got. I recently was traveling, and one of the things I really like to do is go out and shoot at night, but I don't do it much here in the Bay Area. But I felt more comfortable where I was. So some of these are night shots that I did, and if we have time, I can also show you a few other shots I took on the street. These were mostly, the night shots are all in Trieste.
All righty. And I think you should be able to share your screen.
Okay, let me bring it up. That's not the one. So yeah, this was, I turned around the corner where you see these 4 or 5 people. I had just turned around the corner and saw the fellow there in the middle of the photo, and I just knew I had to get a shot of him somehow. And so I crossed the street, and actually that's not the one I wanted to show. I want to show this one.
Can you do full screen?
Oh, what do I do here?
I think, oh, you know what? If you hit the tab, it'll get rid of either that or I think E. Is that right?
I just did a screen sharing.
Let's see. So it's just so that we don't see all your Lightroom menus on the side. Oh. So if you hit the tab key, we'll at least only have the bottom thing.
Okay.
There we go. That's helpful. Thank you.
Let me know for the future what I need to do to.
No, you're good. That's good.
Okay. So this was, what I really loved about this was that guy in the middle and his posturing, or his position there. And the red and the green, all that light from the signal there. So let me go to another one. This was also nearby. I love that building. I thought it was really interesting. I saw a lot of movement in it, the way it goes from the upper left down to the lower right, and the fellow there walking to his motorbike.
Mm-hmm.
It drew me. And shot there that I did. This bingo parlor just sort of grabbed me. I liked all the angles.
Yeah, that's framed really nicely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I liked the reflection. It also was incongruous with everything around it, which you can't really see from the picture, but it was sort of hidden in a back alley as if it was kind of a surreptitious place to go.
I think that that comes through actually in the photograph. I think, yeah, I think that makes it very effective. And it looks like there's a bunch of old, like it's old buildings, maybe an old
It's in an,
area, and then you've got this new bingo bright light hidden in there.
this was not taken at night, obviously. It was. I liked a lot of the angles and I liked the colors. I'm not really a huge fan of color photography, but this sort of drew me. I like graffiti, and there was plenty of it where I was.
And the color of the rust is actually quite attractive.
On the door there, yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see here.
I like the textures too. So
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Motion.
Motion.
Sure. I like the way this guy, you know, sort of the shape of his body in this photo.
mhm.
Yeah, it almost looks like his head is sliding off his shoulders.
Mhm.
He's like slouched over or something. Yeah.
It's a really good way to sort of show a whoosh. To me, it's like a whoosh, like he's passing by.
Yeah, I'm sorry I didn't really put this in context of like the other folks who presented, in the context of you know, Malcolm's writing, because I just decided to do this at the last minute. So it's a little, it is what it is. Again, this night shot, I was drawn to the dark outside and that bright fluorescent light in there with those three men chatting.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
Great.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have 3 black and whites that I took on film that I enjoyed. This one here. I like the sculpture in the background.
Sculpture's great. The bird is great in the foreground.
I realized the bird was in the foreground when they took it. I saw the sculpture and the woman reading the newspaper there, but I'm happy the bird appeared. This guy, this was an interesting looking guy, and he was really curious about why I was curious about him. I mean, that was my take on that. And then I enjoyed this one too. There was a lot of texture in this, and it just walking down a little alley, you run into a fountain like this, and I was just impressed with it.
So, Steve, this one is on film or digital?
The last 3 are film that I digitized. The others, I think, yeah, the others were all digital.
Okay.
And Steve, do you remember what ASA you were shooting at on the film?
On the film, it was a 400.
Tracks, yeah, okay.
That box, yeah.
Yeah.
These were the film was shot during the daytime.
This one I noticed too, the lights are, yeah, red and green, but you don't really notice it as subtle, but one gentleman is in red, which sort of repeats that color. And then there's
Yeah.
another gentleman to his right, which actually picked up the green.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Pretty funny.
Reflection of the green is on this guy and
Yeah.
of him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I see it. Wow. Mm-hmm.
I mean, did you see that when you took this photograph, or do you think it was like an unconscious kind of
I was unconscious.
action? Yeah.
I was unconscious, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I tend not to think too much about
Mm-hmm.
take pictures, take photographs. It's very gut level, and then later on, I may think about it and wonder why I took that picture. Or,
Yeah.
see something in it that I
Yeah.
saw at the time I took the picture.
Yeah, no, I know what you're saying, Steve, because so many times I see something, it doesn't show in my digital photo, but then I try to adjust what I'm doing to how I saw it and, what I thought it looked like, but it may not be exactly, the way it looks.
Yeah, sometimes I surprise myself with what
And
shows up.
to me, that's half of the fun. I mean, I do love to go out and take photos, and roam the streets. And I also like to do the post processing. I really get a kick out of getting home and sort of going over the images and adjust them the way I felt about a certain scene.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes even sense, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I totally get it. So anyway, that's what I pulled together.
That is great.
Thank you so much.
Very nice.
Thank you, Steve. That was great. So let's see. You can click the stop share. And here we all are. Well, I want to thank all of you for being here. I'm sorry that Malcolm couldn't be here. I think I already sent him an email. I think he just would have loved this, and I'm gonna send him or the link to the, as all of our show and tells are, they'll be on our YouTube channel. I'm not sure how quickly that happens, but soon enough. So thank you for playing along, everyone. And our next and last show and tell for the year is on Tuesday, December 3rd. And this is a first. We've never done this before, but this is is a workshop, EPCO Workshop Creations Share event. So if any of you have taken any workshop over this past year with EPCO, this is an opportunity for you to share your work online. We've got space for 10 people, so it's going to be a little bit quicker. It's not like show a portfolio of stuff, but if you want to share a few things from a workshop, that is fantastic. We are also hosting an in-person workshop workshare party in December, which is, let me just grab the not the menu, but the calendar. I think I'm hungry. It is on Sunday the 8th at OPW at 3:00, and that should be fun. But in any event, yeah, if any of you have taken a workshop and made something either at the workshop or from it, you know, afterwards. That is what our last and final show and tell for 2024 will be. Let's see, anything else, Anita? No. All right. Well, thanks everybody. It was great to see you, familiar faces. And thanks again, Aki, for coming for the first time and sharing your work. It's always wonderful to have new people coming and showing.
And Jenny, thanks for jumping in. I know Malcolm is supposed to be here, so thank you for taking the lead.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, I felt like, I mean, I was partly responsible for that snafu, so I mean, I'm here anyway, unless I have to work. So I was definitely going to be here for this one. So, and I always love show and tell.
So many people have motion pictures too.
Yeah. So reminder for all of you who are members, and if you're not a member, join and become a member and submit to our member show. Yeah. There's a lot of motion for there.
Thanks,
all right. Thanks everybody.
Thanks. Ciao.
Bye.
Ciao.
Thank you.